G'day and welcome to another episode of Kiwi Car Life.
And we have just bought the most hated Commodore ever.
But why is it so hated? Well, the Commodore for its entire 40-year run was always a rear-wheel drive sedan, wagon or ute. But after the VF finished production in 2017, Holden, wanting to keep the nameplate alive, rebadged a front-wheel drive Opel Insignia liftback to a Holden to sell in New Zealand and Australia. The new, very German Commodore on paper was better than anything Australia could muster, with the base 2-litre turbo being faster and more efficient than the previous 3-litre V6, and the top-spec models with a new 3.6-litre engine made more power than the Commodore's 5.7-litre V8 from a few years ago. But us bogan Kiwis and Aussies just can't really get on board with a front-wheel drive Commodore with more gears than a bicycle, even if it is better in theory. To Holden enthusiasts, the ZB was like Ford rebadging a Mondeo to a Falcon. And really they should have just phased out the VF Commodore and called the ZB a Holden Insignia like they did in 2013. And thanks to the success of our last VF ex-police Commodore video, this time we've bought a ZB to see if they really are as bad as people say. As with all ex-police cars, they end up at Turner's auctions as either a retail car they groom and tidy up, a deregistered written-off parts car, or one like this that's not good enough to retail, so they auction it off on Turner's damaged. All these cars still have a live rego, but might have an expired warrant of fitness, rough bodywork, and or mechanical issues. This one stated it had a whine in the transmission, clicking CVs, an oil leak, play in the right front wheel, and naturally heaps of scratches, dents and holes all over the interior and exterior from police equipment. But Jack theorised that the transmission whine could be a blocked filter, and the other three issues just require a couple drive shafts, gaskets, and a wheel bearing. Nothing too major, so we got bidding. Can you bid?
I'm leading.
Oh, you're leading? Oh! Well, that's excellent. Oh, well, that was the world's fastest auction. One bid and you bought it.
Fantastic.
So having bought it for just $3,800, we booked flights to Auckland and went to collect it. Our friend Case picked us up from the airport and took us to Turner's in South Auckland, where we picked up the BMW 330i I bought for my girlfriend's sister you would have seen a few weeks ago on the channel, and then we drove to collect the ZB. While driving, Jack confirmed the CVs were clicking, but only under harsh acceleration, and he couldn't see any oil leaks of concern, and fortunately the whine was actually coming from the engine side and not the transmission, so that's probably a bearing of some sort. Having made it home after just over 7 hours of driving, we took the newly purchased ZB for a drive. Well, here we are. The Commodore has made it home after a lengthy drive with the 330i yesterday. And of course, the most important question, is it fast?
Well,
oh yes it is! Holy moly! They used these sedans for a wee while, but then they switched to the wagons and the sedans all but disappeared. Why was that?
yeah, I think they used these in 2018 and then they discontinued them because they had complaints about headroom. I don't know if it was the criminals complaining or if it was the cops that set
True,
them back
because
or what.
sometimes they do go 4 up in these
But
things, eh?
there's plenty of room, but they switched to the wagons for, you know, maybe 2019, 2020.
Yeah.
And
And then
I think-
Holden died.
Yeah, I think by 2021 they're all gone.
Yep. These things get transmissions replaced left, right and centre, but you've theorised that actually that might be a bit overkill.
And I'm sure some of them may fail, like catastrophically, but I don't know that all of them do. And I think a lot of them actually end up having solenoid issues from lack of servicing. I mean, this one only had a service at 77,000, and that was the only service it ever had. Now
It's done 120,000 Ks without a trans service.
Yeah.
So outside of the occasional oil leak and some coil packs that might need replacing, and then the CVs, the AC hose, and the transmission issues, which is quite a lot of things actually.
Yeah, actually true.
But all things considered, one could argue from that if you bought one of these and you serviced it well privately and drove it like a normal person, you probably wouldn't have any issues. Also, Nortec initially kitted out all the cars. The ex-police VFs that we bought, the early ones anyway, were kitted out by Nortec. What's the difference between Nortec and then the Commander cars and then now this, which is kitted out by Wade Group?
Well, Nortec pretty much started kitting out the cars like 2000. Pretty much, I think the police decided that their quality control wasn't the best and that they kind of had overuse of modules. They just have like a module for everything. So then they switched to Wade Group who fitted out Commander,
Yeah.
which was a
In the late VFs.
yeah, it's just 12 volts everything. There's no
Yeah.
like data or anything.
Yeah.
And then Wade Group decided to make their own system, which is started pretty much with very late VFs
Yeah.
and these.
And then these ZBs all are Wade Group. You have a controller which goes to a box, which then outputs to all the lights and sirens through data cables rather than just 12 volt power output.
Yeah, and as a result, everything's all synced up because it's done by like data. It's literally run by like Ethernet cables.
Yeah. So that's the car, a bit of history around these Commodores and how the police cars work. Now it's time to get this one back to immaculate factory condition, or at least as close as we can get it. And the first job is to give it an almighty clean. It's amazing all the places that road grime gets into. Every single gap and crevice was black with dirt, so it took hours to wash it out. Fortunately, European brake dust with a bit of wheel cleaner just wipes right off, and we got a couple of new centre caps for the side that was missing too. With the car finally clean, I set to work removing all of the tar and glue residue, peppering the outside with terps, and then clay barred the whole exterior to clear off any remaining contaminants, ready for polishing. Jack set to work vacuuming and scrubbing the whole interior, getting rid of all the grass, dirt, spilt coffee and general dust throughout. While cleaning the boot, we found a whole lot of cut wiring for the lights and siren, giving some insight into how much they tear these cars apart to install all of the equipment. We also found an epaulette from a police uniform and a whole lot of trespass notices. With the interior clean, we polished parts of the rear bumper as it was really scuffed up, and after a whole day's work we had the car looking 90% clean and at least tolerable for Jack to daily drive while fixing some of the car's mechanical issues. From there, Jack put the car up on a lift and serviced the transmission. Predictably, given it hadn't been serviced in 130,000 Ks, it was black as the ace of spades, but with fresh fluid installed, that would hopefully keep any impending GM 9050 gearbox issues at bay. He also put new wipers on, cleaned out the air filter, and diagnosed the whine from the engine as being the accessory belt tensioner, not too hard to replace. Realigning the panels wasn't too difficult, slamming the door really hard somehow lined it up perfectly, and the front bumper just needed to be undone and pushed up a bit. I got some Holden white made up in a spray can and painted the rear towing eye cover and got some bungs to cover up the light holes. And after installing some new floor mats inside and giving it a final detail, for now at least, until we get it booked in to have the rear guard repainted, it's pretty much good to go. Driving the freshly completed ex-police Commodore ZB. Oh my word! The engine makes absolutely no noise whatsoever, but it's really fast. Turbo kicks in immediately, and the handling, you can see why these do make for great police cars, because if you had to bash down this road chasing after a criminal, it actually does it extremely proficiently. Now Jack, you have been daily driving this car for the last couple of months. Two questions. What are your first impressions? And is it a real Commodore?
First impressions are good, and to be honest, all impressions are good. Like it is a fast car.
Very fast car.
It's very efficient. Like I got 730 odd Ks to a tank coming back from Auckland.
Yeah, which was around what, 7.2, 7.3 litres per k?
But is it a real Holden? No. Or a real Commodore? No. It doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's not a Commodore.
Vauxhall and Opel actually make pretty decent cars. Like the Astra is quite a good car, this is quite a good car, but then it's like the Korean Holdens, like the Captiva, the Barina, the Cruise, the Trax, they are shockingly bad. In my mind, the only thing that kind of lets it down is the gearbox. It's just too many gears. It's like a bicycle, up, 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 and it just, I mean, yeah, it's really fast and it pulls super strong, but it's not. It doesn't have a rhythm to it. It's just. It's like a CVT. Like if we do a little experiment here, let's go foot down in second and then upshift to third.
The revs didn't even drop.
No, they didn't even drop. It's just like there's like a slight
it pauses
interruption.
The revs, but it interrupts it, but it doesn't change. It's weird.
But that's it. To my surprise, this thing is actually honestly probably best driven just in D. Overall, though, I would agree this is not a Commodore. Compared with your VF, this is a nice car, but the VF was just a strong car. You know, you drive a VF SV6, the engine is loud, it sounds great, the transmission shifts hard, the interior, well, is actually kind of similar to this, but it feels like a big, comfortable, open road car. This feels like a kind of nimble, little sporty-ish, like it's just a completely different drive. The character of the engine is totally different. If you're used to Commodores of old, you're not going to like this. But if, like us, you're just coming into this car with an open mind, then we think it's great. So there we go. The ZB is complete. Thank you very much for watching, and we will hit you with one final 2-litre turbo. The speed! Can't believe how fast it is for so little noise and effort. Thanks very much for watching, and we will look forward to seeing you again next time.